Welcome to the Tiger Interview Series.
In this episode, we have our Pittsburgh director, Tim Jones, interviewing Tommy Vena, who is a former collegiate athlete who is now crushing it in the business world. He is the #1 regional director for his company. We thought this would be a very interesting episode because we talk about the skills that he has learned in his athletic career and how he is applying it to his business life. Enjoy.
What's up, guys? It's Tim Jones from Raleigh Tigers, Pittsburgh region here, coming back at you with a pretty unique, and I think it's going to be an epic conversation today. We're gonna mix it up. You know, we're kind of branching outside a little bit of the athletic world and how you take things that you've learned and what's been instilled in you from a playing perspective and the coaches that you had going through youth levels into college. How do you make that successful? What happens in the real world? What do you do when you get to the real world? And how can you be that successful in that competitiveness, bring that to the next level? So I'm excited today. I got one of my childhood friends I've known him my entire life, Tommy Vena, fantastic guy. He outworks most people I know. He knows time management better than anybody I know. And he, without him realizing it, I'm sure he does, but he coaches guys left and right, girls left and right all the time, and he's constantly building teams. So I'm excited. Tommy, I want you to introduce yourself. You know, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, your playing career, kind of what you're working on now that really gets you excited. You got a lot working for you right now, so tell me about some of it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Tim. And as you mentioned, you know, we grew up together, and you know, my background is very similar to yours. We grew up in McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, very blue collar area. Our dads were coaching us, was playing Little League and all that stuff. And I was fortunate to be able to go to a Catholic grade school. I went to a Catholic high school, so my parents kind of made the investment to get me into a Catholic high school. I went to Canevin Catholic right there in Pittsburgh. I played 4 years of football there. We ended up winning our conference my senior year, so I got to be able to be part of a winning team and get to see what it takes to win a championship on that level. And then I went off into college and decided to play football in college. So I went to Allegheny College, which is in Meadville, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. It's small Division III college. If anybody's familiar with the Gators, go Gators. But I played 4 years of football up there for the Gators. Played split end, was a wide receiver there. But our junior year was special. Our junior year, we actually won our conference, the NCAC. So I wore my ring today just for the call. And that was special to be part of another championship team in college and just to witness it and see, you know, what it takes and all the behind the scenes stuff was such a learning experience. But being a college athlete really prepared me for the business world. A lot of what we say now is it's kind of like going from a student athlete to a business athlete. Right out of college, I graduated and I decided I was going to be a real estate agent. So I don't know anybody who ever thought about getting into real estate. I went and did it. I got my license. My father was a mortgage broker at the time, so I thought it would be a good father-son combo. I could sell the homes, he could get the mortgages. And my dad actually told me it's not going to be a good idea. He said that, you know, you might want to reconsider your career path because there's no residual income in real estate. So one thing I had kind of growing up was I had a mentor. I had my dad kind of steering me in the right direction here. And so I left becoming a real estate agent because there's no residual income in that field. And I jumped into becoming a financial advisor. So I did that for 3 years, worked day and night. 80, 90 hours a week as a financial advisor, burning the candle at both ends. And I was starting to gain some traction, getting some success going. And then when I was 24 years old, I left that career after 3 years and I jumped into the company that I'm with now with American Income Life. And we solely focus on just the life insurance portion for our clients. So instead of being a financial advisor doing 100 different things for my clients, now I'm just focused on one thing. Like instead of being a jack of all trades and a master of none, now we master just this. And what I found is that by doing so and mastering on one thing, I was really able to excel. And the company's goals and the way that they're structured just met better for me. So the last 12 years I've been with this company. I started in sales and I was able to work my way up and grow. And I've been blessed to be in leadership, but I led, multiple teams to I guess you'd call them championships in our business. When you get to the highest level in leadership, it's a regional director with our company. And I was presented the top regional director 5 times out of the last 7 years with the company. So they recently promoted me to a state director, and now I run the entire state of Illinois, and we're operating in 46 different states, as we speak. It happened about a year ago. But those are those trophies right here. They give you those for, getting on stage there with the company. And so that kind of brings me to where we're at today is I'm in a position of leadership to where, I'm a state director. I run my own agency here, and I'm really working on a daily basis developing others and teaching them the leadership track. So it's been a crazy past, I guess, since graduating college, man, 16 years.
Some of the cool things, especially for some of our guests that love to watch these podcasts here is, we tend to focus a lot on coaching, and we talk a lot with different aspects of the game, if you will. And what's kind of unique, and I think what's going to draw a lot of people in, is you got trophies behind you. You compete the same way you do whenever you were on the field, right? Now you're basically the head coach of your agency. You're building those teams. You're inspiring them. You're doing a lot of work, and it's crazy to me. And I think one of the biggest things is a lot of players have chips on their shoulders, right? We both came from that blue collar town, hard work, your word meant everything, dedication. You put everything you had into yourself, and we had a lot of great mentors. Our dads were really big influences in our lives. If you don't mind, like kind of jumping into a little bit of the lifestyle of going between the collegiate athlete with the schedule, the routine, the time management that you have to. A lot of kids don't really understand what goes into being a college athlete. They think it's all gravy. I'll go to play college football, playing college basketball, baseball, whatever the case is. Well, they don't realize that you have to be ready and prepared in the weight room. You got to get up early and hit the weight room, take a shower, have breakfast, go to class. You got practice. You got round tables. Tell me a little bit and touch a little bit on that. Like, what did you take from that? And what aspects of that lifestyle molded your life and helped you be successful in the business world?
Yeah, just like you mentioned, it's definitely, student athlete. They definitely told us that the first part in student athlete is student. So we had to make sure that we maintained our grades was the first thing and the main thing that they told us. But the schedule definitely was it's a job. That's really the best way I could describe it. It's a full-time job when you go to become a student athlete, because they're giving you, a lot of them are giving you a scholarship. So they're basically paying you money in a sense. They're paying for you to play. So they want you to be where they want you to be when you need to be there. Springtime, you think football is only a fall sport. Football is not only a fall sport. If you know about spring workouts, we were doing spring workouts 6 o'clock in the morning at the workout center before classes. We had film sessions at 11 o'clock during lunchtime. I'm eating lunch, watching films during the season. And if you want to be a leader, then you're there before practice. You're there after practice. You're meeting in the coach's office at all times of the day, any chance that you get. So I worked a work-study job, plus I was a student athlete, so there really was no time. And what you figure is there's no off season. You learn a lot from being a student athlete. You learn that the game really isn't won during the game. The game is won in the 6 months of studying, in the 6 months of preparing and practicing. You learn the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment, because we would have football camp in the fall, and if you weren't disciplined over the summer to do your workouts and to run and to get into shape, you're going to be pretty disappointed when it came to football camp, because you're going to be out of shape and you're going to be paying the price. So you're going to pay the price of disappointment, or you're going to be to pay the price of discipline. So you learn that physically, you learn that in sports, and also you learn that you're pretty much you're on commission. In sports, they're going to play the best players get to play, and there's a depth chart. And sometimes people that don't go through that in sports, when they come out into the real world, they're expecting participation trophies. And they find out that there's a depth chart in the real world too. So I think sports prepares you for that on that regards. But as far as time management goes, I could just hit on two things with the time management. First of all, I think time management really comes down to appreciation. You have to really appreciate and understand that time is your most valuable asset. Unfortunately for me, I hope this never happens for anybody, but I kind of almost do wish it happened for some people. I was in a car accident when I was 24 years old, right on McKees Rocks Road. I fell asleep driving and went into a telephone pole and nearly lost my life. I should have lost my life, but by the grace of God, I'm still here today. And what you realize quickly is that you don't really know what you got. You don't appreciate what you got until it's gone or until you almost lose it. And I almost lost every second on this earth was almost taken from me. So when that happened, that was a huge transition and a game changer in my life. Was I started to appreciate the time that I had on the earth. And I think that is just a huge thing. And anyone that I've noticed to be successful is they have a high level of appreciation. Before that, college prepared me for time management because you didn't have any time. Literally, I was working as hard as I possibly could. So when you're burning the candle at both ends and you're working as hard as you possibly could and you still can't get everything done, you only have one option. You have to start working smarter. So I was forced out of necessity. It wasn't my intention. I was just going to work hard, but I figured working hard wasn't enough. I had to start mixing in working smarter because I got a wife, I got kids, I got a business, and then I'm also trying to help coach my son's team for flag football. So if I wasn't good at time management, my wife would divorce me, my kids would hate me, and my business would fail. And I can't afford any of that. So I can't afford, it's like some people say, I don't have the time to plan. I can't afford the time to plan. Well, if you can't afford the time to plan, then how can you can't afford not to plan, really. So I notice a lot of people in the business world, they really take their Sundays and they'll plan out their week and in the high levels of detail, So that was a big tip I learned. And then there's a book by Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino has a book called The One Day Contract. And what he says is every day before he goes to bed, you write down what you're going to do the next day. And you treat that as a contract to yourself. And you treat it as a one-day contract, as this is what you're going to do. And you don't want to break the contract to yourself, right?
Absolutely. I see it from time to time on the field. You can tell a good program and a good team if you see them planned out. If they're in there winging it and just trying to figure out and go with the flow, it's a mess. It's a nightmare. There's chaos everywhere. Your kids don't communicate. You don't communicate with them. They don't communicate back. You don't communicate with your coaches. You have to set guidelines for yourself. You have to plan your days out. Rick Pitino's book is fantastic. Spiker loves to read. I love to read. That's a great recommendation for kids or even parents trying to help their kids get to the next level, because I do it too. I'll sit down and I'll go through myself. I'm looking at my day. I'm like, okay, I know I have this scheduled at this time, but I also have to get this, and this done. Do I have to get it all done tomorrow? Is there something I can actually do the day after? And if not, I'll put 80 hours in, 90 hours in a week. And people are like, is this all you do? I'm like, that's all I have time to do. Like, I'm still a dad. I got a daughter I got to spend some time with. My wife would divorce me if I wasn't around all the time. But they're flexible enough because we give them that time to let us dedicate ourselves to the people in our business and how we run our business, because we're dedicated to it, right? So you give that same commitment to each aspect of your life. And that's fantastic, because there's far too many cases where people don't dedicate enough time to the other areas of their life, and then everything else crumbles around them. And when your foundation crumbles, what do you have left?
And then just if I could just comment on that, it's quality over quantity. Some people think that it's the quantity of time that they count how many hours they're spending with all the people. It's not the quantity, but it's quality, of time. And the way you get the quality of time is through planning things out ahead of time. When you get low quality is when you don't plan things out. And a lot of that is being proactive versus reactive. And it's the whole concept, which I just went over with the team yesterday. I said, do you want to be a firefighter or do you want to be a fire starter? Do you want to go into your week and be putting out fires all week long? Or do you want to go in the week and be a firefighter and be sparking that fire for everybody all week long? Because you're proactive. If you're reactive, then you're always going to be putting those fires out. But if you're proactive, you can go through the week and obviously execute the game plan.
Absolutely. And that's that dedication too, right? You put your time and effort into it and you dedicate to it, right?
I think I have a book right here, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
That's a great book.
And that really helped me with time management as well.
It's a great book. And I see you got little notes in there too. It's highly effective people make notes so they can go back and reference, because sometimes your day does get crazy. Your day will push you off guard and kind of push you a little bit, but it's how you handle that. It's that adversity. And I think being an athlete really does. And you handle time management amazing, and there's times that I need to do better myself. And I think there's times that we do struggle with it, and it's okay to admit that. Right? It's being able to admit that and then focusing on the quality of it to get better. I focus a lot on quality. I'm always around. I'm always accessible. And I make sure that the quality is the highest regard that you can possibly find. And I expect that with my coaches and my players. And I instill that in them as well. Kind of sticking with you've learned how to do it as a player. You did it here in your business in Pittsburgh. Then you up and moved, and now you took on Illinois, right? So it's a whole new environment. You had to struggle through COVID with it. I know you took some of your guys and girls here from the Pittsburgh region that went with you. How has that time management evolved through COVID and through just putting yourself out there in a brand new environment that you've never been in before?
We moved out here in March and opened up the office, and our company was the largest in-home life insurance provider in the country. So nobody met with people at their kitchen tables more than we did. And then all of a sudden, COVID took us out of that. We weren't able to do that anymore. Our niche, our thing that we were really good at, we couldn't do anymore. So no more in-person meetings meant we had to make an adjustment. So the company pivoted virtual. It took us about 2 weeks to make the change. And it turned out that, sometimes it could be a gift or it could be a curse. For us, it ended up being a gift that nobody could even thought was amazing. It worked out better for our clients, for our people, for our teams. Everybody has been able to benefit from going virtual. We don't have to drive to see people. Our clients don't have to, worry about having people come over to their house and all that. But really what it has done, has it evolved for me, is it got to the level that there's no way that I'm going to be able to help my top performers perform at the top level unless they can manage their time properly. And the thing is, I can't help them manage their time properly if my time management is a mess. So I have to make sure that all of my stuff and all my ducks are in a row to the T and to the highest level, because that if I don't have that in order, there's no way I can help them get their affairs in order. So it went to a whole nother level, because it wasn't even about me anymore. It's about, I got to get my stuff ready. Because if you don't have your stuff in order, you don't have your affairs in order, how are you going to help everybody else keep their affairs in order? So your responsibility just goes to this whole nother level. Like if I mess up a minute and I have 100 people that are responsible, that I messed up a minute for 100 people.
Sure. A lot of times people aren't adaptable, especially in today's age with youth sports. There's no adversity. Like, parents try and rip you out of that scenario of having to deal with it. And when you have the opportunity to deal with that adversity, the fact that you just told me that it took you 2 weeks to figure out how to go virtual, and I have plenty of thoughts in my head on how you did it. You could get more meetings in, you can meet with more clients, you expanded your pool a little bit. Your mind starts going as you get creative. But if you're adaptable, it's either do or die, right? Sink or swim. And it's the same thing for an athlete, right? If you're going into a college weight room and you're going to be the starting wide receiver, well, you got 5 guys ahead of you, you better outwork every one of them, or you're now dealing with adversity. What can your talents put you, and where can you play in the field? Same thing with baseball, right? You're a high school first baseman, or say you're a high school catcher your whole life, and now what are you going to do? There's 4 guys ahead of you. They're all amazing players. There's no way you're going to outperform them. You either sit the bench and enjoy your ride and not play if you're able to do that because you can't face adversity, or you see a need in the field, you go out there and you take it. You take it, you got the bull by the horns and you do it, but it's how you become adaptable. And the more adaptable you are in the real life, the more successful you're going to be instead of complaining about it. Tell me a couple of the biggest lessons you've learned from your playing career and how it has affected your professional sales career and your family life, whether it's coaches inspiring you, giving you wisdom, life lessons, your time focusing on school, work, gym, meetings, whatever, being a leader there, being a leader now. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned that have really impacted your life on the family and business sides?
We played baseball together, Timmy, and I played for the Yankees. So what was your team when you went to Little League?
We're the Orioles.
You were the Orioles. So in Farm League, me and Timmy played on the Robins together. But then when we went to Little League, he went to the Orioles, I went to the Yankees. So it's 11 and 12-year-olds. Well, when I was 11, I rode the bench. I didn't get no practice time. I didn't get no at-bats at practice. It stunk. So the following year, my dad said, go down to the fire hall in West Park, right on Broadway there. And he said, sign up for baseball again. And I said, no, I don't want to play baseball this year. And my dad made me go play baseball, and I didn't want to. I was going to quit because I didn't play the last year, so I didn't want to play again. He made me play that year, and I ended up, at the end of the year, they ended up giving me a little baseball trophy for being the team MVP. And I'll tell you, that life lesson right there was so huge because I wanted to quit. And if I quit, the team would have never had their MVP that year.
Yep.
The team MVP almost quit. And I can't think of how many kids that literally are going to be the team MVP and they end up quitting. They end up not playing for some reason or another. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for my dad making me go play baseball, I would have never played. And I never would have had that experience and that lifelong lesson to know that I could be a team MVP. And and there's certain coaches that have just over the years have instilled confidence in me, whether it was just letting me pitch the game or just telling me I'm good enough, and I can't tell you how much that did for my confidence overall, knowing that I could do things. I know being a pitcher really helped me because my dad told me, he said, the first thing you need to do is you need to visualize yourself throwing the pitch. Everything about it, he said. He said, picture yourself winding up, picture yourself letting the ball go, watching it go across the plate. If you're trying to paint the corner, it's hitting right in the corner. He said, and then as soon as you're done visualizing that, then wind up and do it. And I was so young that I didn't think, I just did what my dad told me to do. And I swear to you, the ball went exactly where I wanted it to go. And I literally thought it was like a magic trick. And from that point forward, I learned that your brain doesn't know whether it happened or not. And that is such a trick that you can do in sales. They say the best time to make a sale is right after a sale. Well, if I didn't make any sales today, how can I had to go into my head and recreate a sale that I just made. And I acted like I just made a sale. And then I went and saw the client, and my brain thought I just got done making a sale, and I just went in and made another sale. So I can't tell you that how big that was. 2 little baseball things I've learned there. I learned the mind, body, spirit is amazing. Because, we would run sprints at the end of football practice, right? And who liked running sprints at the end of football practice? You didn't, you're lying, okay? But my coach would remind us of why we're doing it. And he would say, this is for the fourth quarter. He's yelling at us, fourth quarter, when everybody's hunched over, when everybody's tired, we're going to be hitting our stride and we're going to run past them. And I can't tell you how many teams that we actually won and the game come down to the fourth quarter and we won the game. That in business, in order for people in business to survive a full year, to be able to go 4 rounds. I've seen people in business die out. I've seen them, you know, in the fourth quarter, they're hunched over and they can't hang on. They got a pulled hamstring. And we're still moving along. My team's still moving along because all year long we've been preparing for the fourth quarter. And we do this through mind, body, spirit. Like I mentioned before, student athlete, there's a student part of the athlete. Just like here, we're business people. Well, we're people and business. So the better I am as a person, the better I can be in business. I've seen people where their business grew, but their personhood didn't grow and their business went back down. They say your talent can take you places that your character can't keep you. Well, character is a lot of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. If you're eating donuts every day, then you're going to have a tough time hanging around in the fourth quarter. But if you're working out, and we say take your vitamins, which is mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, spirit. So every single day, my team is on that. I'm posting videos at 6:30 in the morning on YouTube of 3 things every day. I do 3 things. I do something inspirational, something motivational, and something educational. So inspirational is more, for me, spiritual. So I might listen to Proverbs or Joel Osteen or T.D. Jakes. And some people think it got to be an hour. No, in the mornings, quantity over quality. 5 minutes of some fire is way better than a half hour of just a bunch of nonsense. So 5 minutes of some really good spiritual stuff, 5, 10, 15 minutes, a half hour. If it's good, I'll go an hour on it of motivational stuff, motivation. And then the last thing I like to I call it put a feather in your hat. And I learned something educational, whether it's about my business. The other day I watched a video on the oldest man in the world who lived to be 140, and I learned a couple health tricks. So I put another feather in my hat, and it gives me a little bit more confidence moving throughout my day, throughout my week, knowing that I just know one more thing than the guy next to me. So I try and keep my team on that. And then at the end of the day, if you do the right things and you do them with the right people, and you're doing them for the right reasons, if you're always doing the right stuff, how are you going to get the wrong result eventually, right? And so I say, is it better to be healthy or is it better to be wealthy? Because I sure would hate 10 years to go by, 20 years to go by, and my team or somebody amass a bunch of wealth, but then their health fails them. So it's really important to make sure that we're maintaining a health, and it all flows, you know, into business, and that it's all connected, you know.
It is. Stress is leading a lot. Anxiety has come back now because of COVID, and we stress so much.
Zoom. I don't want to cut you off because of Zoom. I just read an article that people are getting Zoom fatigue and Zoom anxiety, and they call it mirror syndrome because you're looking at your face. It's like you're looking at yourself all day. So I think if you don't get out of the office, my guys leave the office for 2 hours a day and work out in the afternoon. Or else it's the law of diminishing marginal returns. You think the longer that you work, the more, eventually you're going to start becoming less successful. You know?
You want to learn something new every day. I tell that to all my guys. My pitching coach tells that to all our guys. Be smarter than you were yesterday. Take some time to read. Just decompress. I can't tell you how many times I tell kids, listen, you might not believe me. You're out of your mind right now. You're tense. You're stressed. You're frustrated. You're talking to yourself all the time. Go do some yoga. Just do 5 minutes of meditation. They're like, you do meditation? I'm like, trust me. I got a 2-year-old daughter at home. I'm running a business. I co-own another business. And I'm constantly working, and I'm doing renovations at my house now. So I got a lot on my plate. But if I just let it eat me alive, my life quality comes down here. My work quality is going to meet it. And now everything is down here instead of where I want it to be up here. So sometimes we do need that personal time, even if it's just to breathe, even if it's just to read something motivational. And when you're motivated, you're more likely to go succeed. Whereas if you're not motivated, you have no desire. It's just like the gym, right? How many people fail when they start back up the gym and New Year's resolutions? There's no motivation. They don't seek the extra motivation, so they just quit. They fall off. That's some of the best advice that anyone has ever given us.
I've been telling my guys, sometimes we got to slow down in order to speed up.
Yep. You got to take things, stop and smell the roses, right? you can't bypass everything and let everything else go over your head. Fantastic. I love that, man. That's awesome. Going into the next one, this is kind of a unique subject. It's getting trickier now overall. Many people struggle with continuing their education after school, like going to college or even just learning. They think, now that I have my degree, I'm done learning. That's not the case. And you and I would both agree tenfold that you never stop learning. How did you approach continually growing and learning once you left school to get yourself on the platform where you are now?
In fact, that's funny you mentioned this because after college, I actually was going to continue college. I was going to go, you do 4 years, so you get a bachelor's degree. So then I was going to do 2 more years and go to Pitt and go to the Katz School of Business and get my MBA, right? And when I thought about it, I thought it's going to be another 2 years of school. So that's 2 more years of me paying money and I'm not making money. That's 2 more years where I'm going to be sitting in a classroom learning book knowledge and not have any real life experience. That's 2 more years of my life that's going to go by that I'm never going to get back. And then at the end of all these 2 years, I might have a master's degree, but I'm not going to have any job, any career, and I'll have to go find a career. So I told myself, instead of getting a master's degree in business administration, why don't you go into your career, which at that time was a financial advisor, and get your master's degree in that business. And at the end of those 2 years, you're not going to have to pay any money. You're actually going to make money for 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, instead of getting a bunch of book knowledge that you can't really even use in real life, I'll be able to walk away with 2 years of hands-on life experience of me talking to, dealing with, and working with live clients, which out of college, I needed that life experience. I wasn't, the most, worldwide global traveler where I could just talk to anybody anywhere. I didn't have that experience. I was a college kid. I only know what I knew. So that put me out there. And after 2 years, instead of not having a job and have to go find a career, I'm going to have a career that I'm already in. So I kind of just took the same approach of school and I just took it to the business and I said, okay, now what you got to do is you got to graduate here. So I told myself the first 4 years with this company is like going to college, Tommy. I told myself that. I said, so you got to go 4 years here and then you can graduate. And it was just the same. My first year in this business, I felt like a freshman in college. Then I felt like a sophomore. But my 4th year, I felt like a champ. I felt like a senior, felt good. And the income was great after 4 years. And then I said, well, now you got to do 6 years. You did 4, you got to do 6 because then you could get your master's in the business. And after I did 6, then I said, well, now you got to do 2 more years and you got to get your doctorate's degree. So every time I leveled up, and now I'm a professor in the business per se, So,
Sure.
So you kind of just take that same approach and apply it to business. You never stop learning. And I left the office last night at 9:45, and I said to the gentleman who left with me, I said, I could go in my office for the next 6 months and still not be done with everything that we need to get done.
Absolutely.
So
it never ends. You're constantly growing and building, and that's a very unique perspective for a lot of guys a lot of girls too, that they can kind of take that perspective where now I see it so often where people will go for a 4-year degree. They don't really know. They're trying to decide where they want. We try and guide them to find like a niche that they might be interested in. I try and push my guys to find something that they might be interested in and spend some time in high school, like job shadowing, get an idea so you don't waste a year or 2 in college because it adds up. It gets really expensive. And then now all of a sudden, there's people that go back for their master's in a completely different field. And then now they're 28, 29, 30, and they're just starting their career or maybe getting into a job that could be a career, and their whole mentality changes. Their competitiveness changes. They lose that desire to compete because they feel like they're so far behind the curve. I like that mentality of treat it like you're going back to college, but this is your life college. You're learning life now, and you're in the real world, and take it because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn and you're going to fail. you're not successful unless you've fallen on your face. And I tell people that all the time. People are like, how many times have you fallen on your face? I'm like, trust me, if you want to hear some stories, I'll tell you, I've made bad decisions. I'm going to make other ones. And you deal with things differently. And as you grow, when you become that bachelor degree guy in there, now you got your master's and your doctorate. Now you're the professor and you're teaching these other guys. It's a whole different thought process than when you're that freshman, or even right when you're about to start that master's level in your business career, where you're a little bit more gung-ho. You're more ready to run through a brick wall. Now you're like, okay, hold on, let me assess this real quick. I got 3 different things that we could do with this. Let's find the best solution and run with that. You work smarter, right? Because now you have that experience, and it's not just a book telling you what to do, where real life and books sometimes clash. It doesn't work out, right? It's amazing. Now, let me ask you this question here. What are some of the biggest differences and some of the biggest similarities between your business and your business life, how you run it, your personality in it, the way that you develop and mentor your staff, your teams, versus your baseball and then your college football career? What are the differences and similarities between the two?
That's a good question. And it's funny because I try and make it be like almost none. I try and have no differences. I try and run this almost like a sports organization. Maybe that's just because what I know, but I know it works as well. And many other people that are in business and in the industry, they treat it the same. A lot of people have similar backgrounds. So when I do this, and I treat this like a locker room, treat it like a team, like a baseball, football, basketball team. A lot of the people that work here are student athletes. They're ex-athletes. So it just makes sense to them. For me to break down the year, we got 4 quarters in a year. So a lot of them played sports. So it makes sense. We got 4 quarters in a game. In a month, there's 4 weeks in a month. So it makes sense to break it down. There's 4 weeks in a month. But also, you look at a head coach. What's the head coach's main responsibility? As soon as the football season's over, where's Nick Saban go? Nick Saban's going back to sit at some high school seniors' kitchen table with him and his mom trying to recruit them. So the main job of a head coach is to recruit top talent to that organization. That's why they interviewed Nick Saban. Actually, they interviewed the head of Alabama, and they said Nick Saban is the highest paid coach in college history, and they announced like how much money that they paid Nick Saban, and they said to the Alabama, they said, what do you think about that? About that much? He said, this is the best investment that Alabama University has ever made. And I really stopped and thought about that. Like, what do you mean? Alabama University has been around for a long time and has made some major investments. How could you say that the best investment that you made was in your football coach, right? And that just goes to show you the value in leadership. Leadership is valued because of the market. I have an economics degree, so follow me on this for a second. But in economics, they say supply and demand. So if you have a huge demand for something and a need, people need it really, really bad, but there's not that big of a supply, what happens to the price of that unit? It goes up. So with leadership, I feel like the supply for really high quality, high caliber, good, solid leadership, the supply, it's not, there's not much of it. There's a low supply of it. So if you can emerge yourself as a strong leader, you're going to be able to bring, you're going to be so valuable to the organization you're involved with, to the community that you're in, to the country, and to the world and to the universe, really.
So you kind of touched on it now, but how do you view building teams in the professional world? What tactics and strategies do you use to create a positive culture to recruit that talent, right? You mentioned you recruit a lot of athletes. I tell my guys all the time, Spiker, his wife is a recruiter too, and she says all the time, like, as soon as you see an athlete on that list, that's who they're calling first because of what their background is. So touch on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the athletes stand out to me too. I find, and before you were talking about talent and stuff, and just to mention, talent, um, hard work will be talent when talent doesn't work hard, and that's what
Absolutely.
America is. So, a lot of times when I see a Division III athlete, I get excited because I find that the Division III athletes a lot of times weren't the most talented. So they didn't get anything really handed to them at all. Everything that they earned has been purely through a lot of hard work and dedication and discipline and all the intangible traits that you really look for in a person, in a teammate, and somebody that you want to be working for side by side in business and out of business. Those characteristics are huge. And a lot of times, if you just have a Division III student athlete, that usually comes along with the territory or those things. So, the goal for us is to make sure that we hire the right people, and then make sure we hire them the right way. And then I have to make sure I give them the right training. And if you could imagine, if you're recruiting a team or building a business, you don't want to recruit the wrong person,
Right.
and then recruit them the wrong way. Like, oh yeah, come here, I'll make you a starter the first day and you never got to practice. That's probably giving them, not hiring them the right way. You tell them you're going to come to Alabama, you're going to work your butt off, and you're going to have to earn your spot on this team, just so you know. And you're going to be practicing every day, every night. We're going to be eating, sleeping, breathing this deal. And if you don't get your grades, you're going to be off the team. Like, that's the way you hire them. So, you don't want to give people hiring them the wrong way. And then the same thing is giving them the right training, which is just putting them into the system and a culture. So, we use Alabama, or if you want to talk about Alabama, I could just imagine they have a system that they stick to, they know it works, and they put all the pressure on their system, and they have an amazing culture. And they don't break it for anybody. They don't budge their system. If you're a new guy and you don't like it, well, too bad. This is Alabama. We wear crimson, right? If you want to wear blue, go play for Penn State. So it's people, when they come here, we do need them to fully subscribe and fully commit to the team's motto. It's our alma mater. We sing our alma mater, and we wear these colors. And on Tuesdays, we have this meeting. And on Thursdays, we do team lunches. And nobody is allowed to put themselves above the team. I make that very clear. Nobody will ever be bigger than the team. If you're the starting wide receiver and you're 1 minute late for the bus, you're not starting. Well, you're my starting wide receiver and we got a championship game. We gotta win. I'm raising men here. Okay. And if I would lose a game to prove a point to the other 52 men that are relying on me to teach them life lessons, because football is going to come and go, So same thing in this business. I got to hold true to those same principles, that if there's a 16-year-old kid that if he's late for the bus, the coach isn't going to play him. What do you think's going to happen if you're a grown person in business and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line? You think you can be late then? So I would rather him learn the lesson when he's 16 and bench him, so that when he's 26 and he got a wife and kids, he don't miss the meeting, he's not late, he has the discipline to come through and be a man in society, So, there's a lot that goes into the recruiting, but I just know that that's the main thing. Nothing will happen without the recruiting. Nothing will happen for any great organization without recruiting, which is, it's crazy to think, but that's really one of the key things.
That's how it goes. I mean, we talk a lot, especially with the Tigers. We hound a lot with our regional directors, with our coaches, with our parents. This is our culture. You know as well as I do, there's times that parents think that they know so much more than we do. And it's like, okay, well, this is our culture, and this is how we do it. If you don't like it, I understand. We're just not the right fit for you. And sometimes people look at me like, wow, that's kind of a slap in the face. Like, no, I'm not breaking my culture just to appease you. It's just not a good fit for you. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not a good fit for you. We want to recruit those people that are a good fit for us. And you have to be put in the right environment with the right system in place to develop you the right way. Because if you're not being developed the right way, I can't expect the best from you, and I'm not giving you the best version of myself. So you're not actually getting the culture that we're trying to give you here. So it's a full circle. Like we wear black and orange; those are our colors. There's nothing outside of that. We tell everyone there's no I in team. Where there's no individuals, we're one team. And I try and tell my parents all the time, like, listen, stop, especially when you're young, like, stop worrying about other kids making an error or mistake. Focus on the team playing together and getting better. When they do make mistakes, we notate that. And now we're going to go back to practice and work on those things so we can teach them. Now they have the chance to develop the right way. You think they're going to make that mistake again? No, because we let them fail so they know what it feels like to fail and teach them that life lesson. They get the life lesson because they didn't make the championship game, right? And now they're kind of down, they're bummed out. Well, let's go to work. Well, guess what? You went to work next weekend. Now you do make that championship game.
I've coached people in business before that have never played sports, and I've seen some of those traits kind of trickle in where, they would fail and they didn't know how to fail forward. They didn't know that it was okay to strike out and get back up to the plate again. They would fail and think that they were the worst person on earth and that this is not right for them and they need to give it up. And also what I found is people that never had to play any sports, which means they never had coaching. They were never coached, so they didn't understand to take corrective criticism. Like
Sure.
Nick Saban says, he says, when a coach talks to you, he's not picking on you. He's coaching you. He's teaching you. And some people get their feelings hurt and they think that you're picking on them or something when in fact, I actually really care about you and I help you and want to help you. That's why I'm taking the time to come over here and direct and coach you. If I didn't care, I would have just said nothing and let you keep messing up.
Absolutely.
So I learned that lesson from coach. And then you know how many times I've gotten yelled at by a coach before? Right?
I don't think kids today, I don't think little Tommy, I don't think any of your kids or mine would be like, wow, you guys actually got yelled at. I'm like, yeah, they held us accountable and we didn't do the right thing, but they knew that we could do this and they trusted us and they put the time in to make us better because we wanted them to. We needed that. And like it's funny because Spike and I will say this and other Tigers guys will say this, like, there's posts I've shared, like, if a coach doesn't give you the time of day, he doesn't care. But if a coach is pushing you a little bit more, it's because he wants the best for you. He knows that you can get it. He knows that you could do it. And there's ways to fail with grace. And it's the same thing now. Like I've touched on this on other podcasts where a lot of people feel that accountability is a punishment. Like, no, it's not a punishment. It's not. It's a life lesson. First of all, I'm not going to hold you accountable if I don't lay out my expectations, because that means that I can't hold myself accountable. When I do that, now you know my expectations, and I'm trying to get you there for a reason, both in baseball and in life, because I want you to be able to go down the path and get into a career and know that there is life after the game, and you could carry these things into that life, right? And if I get you to that point, it's going to make you a better person. And when you're a better person, you're a better business person, economics, finance, whatever you're doing in life, it'll make you better in that field and at home with your wife and your kids or whoever you end up spending your life with. And it's also ironic too, where, I really love the idea that you look for those D3 guys, probably even some D2 guys or JUCO guys, because it's D1 or bust mentality with so many parents. And it's frustrating as a coach sometimes because you want what's best for that kid. And you know that it's not going to be a good fit to go 12, 16 hours away where they're a homebody. They're always with their family or their friends here, and they struggle with school. They don't really have that accountability or time management yet. They're just not quite ready for it. And you know that it's an environment that's going to set them up for failure. And you know that it's that D1 mentality. It's, I'm playing the best kids that are putting everything into it. And then they don't work as hard and then they come home. I know we've both seen it with guys that we grew up with that had every opportunity to play at the next level, and we watched it fade away. And it's sad to see that. And then we see other guys that came from nothing and they are doing everything under the sun at the next level. And it's like, man, how'd you do it? Well, they have the mentality of it. They put they put the grind in and they put the work in, and now they've fallen on their face. They know how to fall forward, and they can accept it and grow from it to get better. And it's funny to me because I know some of our parents are going to watch this and be like, that's kind of intriguing that you look for, high level agency looks for D3 athletes or lower level athletes because you know that they work their butts off, which tells you without ever meeting them that there's a good chance they would work their butts off because they believe in themselves and they really invest in themselves. And it makes a world of difference once this game ends, and it will end for every one of us at some point in time. And what do we do next? Well, then now, all right, we just moved on to the next team. My new game starts now. It's amazing how that happens. How do you build this buy-in culture? Culture is everything for both of us. How do you build this buy-in culture? In other words, how do you convince someone this is the best route? This is the best place to be for them?
I don't really try to convince people of something, because if it's not right for someone, I'm not going to try to convince them that it is. So really, I try to find out what's in it for them. The team here, when you talk about culture, you want to talk what type of culture you want to establish. What is this culture going to be? And the culture you want to have is a culture of winning. Without winning, nothing else happens. This week, I got to meet with Tim Grover. He spent an hour with us, and he literally said that nothing happens without winning. It's all about winning. You have to win. You have to win, or nothing happens. So the culture here, it's about winning. And if you want to build a winning culture, then you got to make sure that you establish that from the beginning of what you want to permit and what you want to promote, within your culture.
I like that. And I think one of the biggest keys that you can take, or anybody can take from them, especially some of our directors, who really want to build and grow, I know a lot of people do this in business where they'll fall into appeasing everybody because they just want to grow, instead of focusing on how they want to grow, right? And it's not a good fit for everybody. If it's not a good fit, don't pursue them, okay? Because now, instead of working smarter, you're working harder, you're reverting backwards to redo things, you're putting more workload on yourself without intrinsically realizing it. It's okay if it's not a good fit for someone, and it's okay to tell someone that. And I stress that a lot, and I don't know why, but sometimes it offends people. They'll be like, man, how do you do that? How do you grow by doing that? I'm like, I know my vision. I know my culture. This is what I want. And I know people will come for that.
Because, without vision, the people will perish. So if you're leading people, there has to be the vision. And the vision has to be clearly communicated with everybody. So I have a big, in our meeting room, we have a meeting every week. There's a huge banner, and on the banner, it says our goal for 2021, $5 million. So everybody every week sees that vision. It's right in front of them. It's like in your locker room. If you put, you guys know what it says in the Ohio State locker room? Beat Michigan. And It has a countdown to the next time they play Michigan. So when you go to Ohio State, you know the goal. So number one, everybody here has to know the mission of the overall team. And then they have to know that they're in, for our sake, I let them know that they're on a team of excellence. We have a history of excellence. We have a history of championships. So when you come here, you're expected to play at the highest level, So that was huge, I think, but then how do you get buy-in? Is the vision has to be so big that they want to be part of it. If I say, hey guys, I'm going to build a tent in my backyard, you're like, all right, well, you don't need no help for that. Do it by yourself. If I'm like, hey guys, I'm trying to build a shed in my backyard, you're like, I'll come help you. Hey guys, I'm trying to build a house. Oh, well, we're going to have to get 15 people to help Tommy. Hey, I'm trying to build a neighborhood. Oh, we're going to have to get 100 people. Hey guys, my vision's so big, I want to build a city. Oh, we're going to have to get a couple 100,000 people to help Tommy. So if your vision is so big, it's going to naturally call for more people to help. But then also, everybody has to know what's in it for them and how they are going to get what they want by being part of this vision. So my vision is basically everyone else's vision combined. So I have to take every single person. If this guy wants to get this done, this lady needs to get this. It's all their visions together is the ultimate team vision. And what happens is, for me, their visions end up being way bigger than what my original vision ever really was when you added it all up. So everybody's working together, to all really achieve the same thing and all get their same goals done at the same time. Just like any championship team, you got to have that one goal and everybody focus on that one thing, and nobody really, focus on being the individuals, because they say you could play for the name on the front of the jersey or you could play for the name on the back of the jersey. And the name on the front of the jersey is what? It's the Tigers. What's the name on the back of the jersey? It's your last name. It's Jones. So the thing is, if you play for the name on the front of the jersey and the name on the front of the jersey wins, then the name on the back of the jersey is going to win too. But it's possible for the name on the back of the jersey to win, but the whole team to lose. So that's why we really we just have that culture and we preach it. And whatever you keep saying is what you'll be about. If you tell your team, if you just line your team up and say, we are fierce competitors and we never give up, and that's who we are, guys, your team is eventually going to live up to that. My son went to wrestle. He did 2 years of wrestling last year. It's his second year in wrestling. And I said, son, if you want to wrestle, there's only one rule, okay? And this is for if there's any parents watching. I'll give two little pieces of advice that I gave my son, okay? And I said, the number one rule is if you wrestle, you are not allowed to quit. No quitting. You're not allowed to quit, okay? So in our workout room in our basement, I wrote on the wall, I took chalk and I wrote, I never quit. And literally, I want my son to be his identity. I'm slowly trying to build an identity in him that you're not a quitter, son. We don't quit. You don't quit. We don't quit. Everything you do, you don't quit. The other day he started doing his math and he said, I want to finish it tomorrow. I said, no, you come over here and we're going to finish this. And at the end, I said, so what did you learn here? And he started telling me about math. I said, you didn't learn about math. What you learn here is that what you start, you finish. That's the lesson of the day. So in wrestling, if he wants to wrestle, his goal is no matter what, in a match, because what happens, these little kids, they'll quit in the middle of a match. And I said, you're not allowed to quit until the match is over, okay? So I told my cousin, he's like, how'd he do? I was like, he lost one of his matches. And my cousin reminded me, he said, Tommy, you don't lose in wrestling, you learn. And I was like, wow, that is so profound. You don't lose, you learn. The only way you lose is if you quit. And if you never quit, then you can never lose, and you'll always be a winner. And I told my son, winners never quit. Quitters never win. So that's our number one rule. And then also, this is a side note, but I guess I was listening to a Navy SEALs guy one time, and he was saying that he told his son that he said, son, when you cry, nobody cares. So it really helped my son, because now when he gets hurt and stuff, he don't cry. It's amazing. He'll get bloody nose, he'll come out and he'll go right back in and keep doing it. So I don't know if that's too harsh or not.
That's where we came from, right? It's just, but I like it though, because it teaches them, don't bite off more than you can chew. You have to plan yourself out to where if you're going to do something, go after it. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's what you learn from it. And each time you learn, it's only going to make you better, right? And I know that there's with this whole youth baseball thing, people want to chase trophies, they want to win championships, they want to do all these things. And then I'll sit there and I'll break things down and be like, okay, well, we don't chase trophies. We don't. We want to develop our players, because a lot of times kids will quit after 12 years of age. A lot of times those studs before they're 12 are studs all the way up through then, and then they're nobodies because they stopped working. or they're not developing the way other players are, and they're just getting surpassed by leaps and bounds. And it's
And that's
because
because
of
they
their
never
work
developed
ethic.
them habits you're talking about.
Exactly. You have to develop those positive habits. And it's such an amazing thought process behind it where, yeah, we always want to win, but it's what's the win? What exactly is the win? Is it winning that trophy all the time that, college coaches don't really care about when you're 11, 12, 13? Or is it every time that we lose, we learn something? Why do we lose? What did we learn? Okay, well, we're not hitting our cut. We're not swinging the bat, or we're not focusing on our fundamentals, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so how can we deal with that? How can we overcome that? We work on that. We go back to our foundation. Our motto is we want to make better, faster, stronger, smarter players, because we'll see kids today playing the game and they're 15 years old making routine errors that you and I didn't make when we were 9 years old. And I'm sitting there thinking in my head, like, what am I watching? Like, what has happened to youth sports where AAU basketball kids with money will play on a travel team because one or two guys are going like D1 or potentially an NBA lottery pick, and then they're on the C team for high school, and it's like they can't set a pick and roll. Like they can't. No one's actually taken the time to teach them that. And you do have some of these higher level programs out there that they only care about winning, and they do absolutely no development whatsoever. And there's no life skills. There's no lessons learned. And if you mess up, you sit the bench immediately, but the kid doesn't know what the hell he did. And if you don't take the time to explain it and express it, you're not learning. So you actually are losing because you're quitting on them. And then now they're quitting on themselves because they don't know any better. They don't. But if you always learn, it's an awesome take that you can take into anything in life, because even when you fail, you're learning something. So now you get better. And that's why I tell people all the time, trust me, you're not successful until you failed, because you have to know how to get through it and what you did wrong to improve yourself. That's self-worth, self-learning, self-respect. It's all the above. It's amazing how it works.
What do they call that? Failing forward. Failing forward. They say success is going from failure to failure without losing any enthusiasm.
100%. 100%. Let me kind of switch a little bit on this aspect here. We've talked so much about mentoring and training and what we do and what you guys do. Give us a little insight on how you do it based on what you've taken from sports, kind of how you see yourself as that main recruiter like Nick Saban. What are some of the key things that you focus on to build those teams, to mentor those teammates, if you will, or your athletes, if you will, to get them to that level to buy in, and what strategies do you use?
Obviously, and athletes, we'll call them business athletes over here in business, and I think it comes down to, developing the leadership has to be an intentional thing. It's not going to happen on accident. And this is just personal development, any development at all, really. It has to be extremely intentional. Like, for instance, if I just wake up and go through my day, I'm not going to get any better. Like, I have to go out of my way, and purposely pour into whatever it is to improve. Like, working out doesn't happen on its own. I got to go out of, I'm busy. So if I don't intentionally go out of my way to work out, I'm not going to work out today. So same thing with personal development. Like, I'm not going to develop myself if I don't personally do it intentionally. And literally it's like almost like going out of your way. Like I said, same thing with developing others and developing your team. And in a team, you don't want a team of a bunch of followers. You want a team of leaders. So to develop leaders and develop leadership, any development is intentional. Leadership development is intentional as well. So you kind of have to wake up on a daily basis and say, okay, I got to develop some people today. I got to get this one closer. I know I'm not going to take somebody from brand new to the most top level general manager in the organization in a day. Leadership, you guys probably heard of John Maxwell. John Maxwell was one of the greatest leadership coaches of all time. He said leadership doesn't happen in a day, but it happens in what we do daily. So, I know I'm not going to get in physical shape. I know my biceps aren't going to grow in a day, But if daily I do this and do curls, every day, it's not a matter of if I get my biceps in shape, right? It's going to be a matter of when. So with the development of the team and with the leadership development more specifically, is the key for me is to develop leaders and developing them at the highest level possible. It just has to be in my daily routines, and I have to trust the system, trust the process. Because if I look at my bicep tomorrow, I'm going to be pretty upset it didn't get any bigger. You know? So I have to trust the process to know that, hey, it's not going to happen in a day, but if every day you eat the right foods, you get to sleep, you do everything your trainer tells you to do, you're eventually going to build what you're looking to build. So it's a very high level of trust, faith in business. To start and open your own business has to be a high level of faith in a very higher power than myself. You know, so I trust God, I trust the universe, that if I'm doing the right thing, and if every day I'm supposed to do all this and I do all this and I pick my head up a year from now, there's definitely got to be some growth. It's that 1% rule, the compounding effect. You know, the compound effect, that's another great book while we're talking about books today.
Sure.
But the compound effect says if you just get 1% better every single day, you pick your head up a year from now and you are 30 times better than the average person.
It's what it is. And a lot of people are afraid of the time. Like one of my favorite things I used to teach all my high school kids and my kids now is I tell them, like, you have daily activities of excellence. And what that means is you have an intent of why we're doing something. You understand it. And if you do it every day, I don't want you to go swing 100 times every day just to swing, because you're not going to get better. You're going to get worse. But if you do something intently and you're achieving excellence for that day, that's your 1 day goal. If you have a 1 day goal every day, at the end of the week, you have a longer term goal. Now you have the next short term goal and the next one and the next one. So you have to have short term goals before you can have that massive, bigger picture goal. And you got to meet them each and every time. And when you don't, you learn why. But if you do something every single day, you're bound to get better. You're bound to get better. You hold yourself accountable too. And it's a big aspect. So that's awesome. I love how you guys do that. It's very similar to how we do it too. And it goes a long way, because if you're an athlete looking to get into business or in the real world, treat it the same way. You know, it's not much different. You know, kind of going into our last segment here. And
if I could just touch on it real quick,
Sure.
it's kind of like dimensions. You know, you can take your organization to, instead of going to the next level, you can take them to the next dimension, and I call it 3D, which goes like this. You go develop, duplicate, then delegate. So if I brought you into the business, the first thing I would have to do is I would have to develop you and develop your skill sets. Once I develop your skill sets, that like the same skill sets that I have, then I can delegate those actions into you. Let's say it was pitching, right? So let's say I was the pitcher. Well, and I didn't want to be there. I wanted you to be the pitcher. So what I would do is I would develop you to be a pitcher. I would duplicate all of my skill sets into you until you were basically a spitting image of me. So I develop and then I duplicate myself into you. And at that point, I have two of me now, right? So now I can delegate that to you, you know, and now we can cover more ground.
Absolutely.
And leaders are multipliers and followers are more of an adder. You know, so that's why I really try and focus on developing leaders versus developing followers.
Absolutely. Because then you have more trust in them and you free up more of your time to develop more leaders, because now they can go on and now they can develop more leaders on top of it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a great analogy. That is fantastic. And for me, myself here locally, a lot of what we do, you know, we want leaders on our team to come back and duplicate that leadership style with the youth, with the communities, with other environments, because now we can see them actually growing. We can trust them to do those. Like I have my high school guys do, you know, nonprofit work. on different occasions, but I also want them to come back and help me with some summer camps because I've worked with them so intently that I'm duplicating the character, not always 100% the same skill level. It's a little different in baseball, but if I can duplicate that character and that relationship status and how you can be comfortable speaking to people and be confident in what you're teaching these kids, you believe in yourself. And now you're going to do it. And I can't tell you how many times I have kids I've coached that now come back and work with me or have sent me guys or they're coaching on their own now. And they're still picking my brain from time to time. And we talk back and forth because I've essentially duplicated them to doing things this way. And they found success doing it this way instead of that screamer, yeller, and dictating. Now you're leading by example, and now they're getting more people to buy into them. And it's amazing when you see that process happen. I get excited when other people have success. And that's really a big reason why I do what I do, because now I'm happy for them. I'm happy for their family. I'm happy for what they can do. And I could just vision the future for them. And 9 out of 10 times it happens, right? Because you've instilled that in them. It's amazing. And kind of going into our last segment here with the culture, your culture is amazing. What breeds an amazing culture and how do you build upon that to get others to buy in is a big topic that we've talked about. So, talking about the culture inside of a team, let me ask you this. What happens when drama is created? What's the best way to minimize and eliminate that spread of drama inside your culture? Because, I'll tell you point blank, there's times where, we've all seen it where it's like, okay, parents get crazy. Now they're flipping out. They're demanding other coaches to do things. That's like, whoa, that's not our culture. They want to win and they'd rather risk a kid's arm at 12 years age or 10 years old. I'm like, dude, the kid's 10 years old. Like, we want him to be able to move when he's at least 13, 14. Come on now. So sometimes you do have that drama arise. How do you handle it? And what do you do to push forward?
Yeah, so drama is a little different. Obviously, we don't have any angry parents here, arguing the call at home plate or anything. But the drama, I try to address it all up front. So it's a lot in just preaching the culture. So we have a sign. It says no negativity allowed in here. So they're not even allowed to bring it into the office. And then also we have another sign that I stole from the movie, Will Ferrell, when he was the basketball coach, semi-pro.
Yep.
You ever saw that movie? He has a sign in his locker room. It says ELE, everyone loves everyone. So I literally took that sign and I put it in our office and I said, our number one rule here is everybody loves everyone. So if there is any drama, I say, hey, don't forget the number one rule here, guys. No negativity and everybody loves everybody. And I kind of joke about it, but it's serious at the same time.
Sure.
And I address everything head on. I don't let stuff go under the rug. And if I have, I got a bunch of, salespeople here and we got competitions and stuff. And sometimes, they might get extra competitive and I might have to sit people down and, clear the air a little bit. So we've had some powwows in my office before, but what happens is we all come out stronger. I find that coaches don't want to meet the conflict. And then what happens is they have a new player that did something wrong and they need to be coached up on it. But the coach doesn't want to coach the player, doesn't want to, ruffle their feathers, doesn't want to, it takes energy, it's a little anxiety. Like, do you think I want to go correct this kid? I don't want to feel like doing that right now. I'd rather be high-fiving everybody and telling everybody we did a good job. I don't want to pull this kid aside and tell him he's doing bad. And it's stressful for me to have these conversations. So a lot of people avoid those conversations. And then what happens is instead of that relationship getting stronger, it gets weaker. Instead I go, and if they mess up, I pull them in, and I love to take advantage to coach them up, okay? Because it now opened up the communication for a coaching relationship. Now he's used to me coaching him. He's used to taking coaching from me, and what happens is we end up getting stronger because of it. Than not. So when you avoid the confrontation, nothing really happens. But when most of the time, if you handle it properly and listen and all that stuff, and it ends up being a more of a positive thing. I'm like, and I'm glad. And at the end, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad we had this conversation, man. And they're like, dude, Tommy, thanks for coaching me up on this. And they're thanking me at the end for basically, giving it to them, telling them you messed up, and that is the best. That's the best.
I think on two sides of that coin, and it's great advice for people that are truly afraid of the adversity aspect, whether you're a coach in our organization or if you're playing for someone that kind of lets that culture arise where they just I'm not messing with it. The kid's a stud. He's going to get the free pass, do whatever he wants. We just want to go out there and use him for all we can so we can win and prop up the stats on our wall and use that to recruit more kids. It's starting to show. I think a big thing with COVID is relationships are coming back and people are starting to pay attention to where their money's going, right? They really want to invest in something versus just buy something. So do you want to buy a trophy? Do you want to buy a team? Or do you want to invest in your kid's future? There's a difference there, right? We're not chasing Walmart shoppers. We want, people that value something right now because they know that they're going to put their money in and get an investment in the end, right? It's just like your retirement. And what I stress all the time is, I'm brutally open and honest. Some people hate it. They can't handle it. And I tell them that up front. I'm like, listen, I'm just going to be completely honest. I do this with my assessments, my evaluations. I do it with my coaches, my players. If something happens and there's a little riff or something or some drama does get created, I handle it head on right away because it's only going to get worse if it goes on. Now, I'll give my parents, I tell them, 24-hour rule, just cool down a little bit so we can have a level-headed conversation. Don't bring emotions into it. I want to know what's going on. And I'm going to tell you point blank exactly why we do it this way and how we do it. And it's amazing the outcome when you tackle it head on. People value you because you spent the time with them. And especially with athletes, they want to be held accountable because now they know, number one, you care. Number two, you listen to them. And number three, you gave them a new perspective, right? You didn't destroy them. You didn't throw them under the bus. Yeah, you called them out and you held them accountable. Said, listen, that doesn't fly here. You're not following any of our rules. I know your passion's here. Let's channel it. Let's put it together. It's a big difference. And that's a big point for a lot of our new directors and a lot of our coaches where there's no such thing as not having drama in sports. Look. So don't be afraid of it.
That's why most people play sports.
It's exactly right. And, don't run from it. Just meet it head on.
So with culture, I just think that if whether you create the culture or not, a culture is being created regardless. So I would rather be the one creating the culture than it being created by someone else. So if you notice, a lot of the stuff I said is, our goals right on the front. We have signs as soon as you come in the office, like, everybody loves everybody, no negativity here, and the culture's already been created. And then when people come in, they know the vision of the culture. And then it goes back to inspecting what you expect. If I expect you to act a certain way and do certain things, I got to inspect that and not permit, because what you permit, you promote. So if I'm permitting someone to do something, like for instance, let's say I permit someone to show up late for practice. Well, what you permit, you promote. So I might as well just make a big sign and put it up in the office and say, hey guys, it's okay to show up late for practice. In fact, everybody show up 5 minutes late from practice. I should have a sign that says, everybody show up late 5 minutes from practice. Because that to me is the same thing as permitting them to show up late. Might as well just start promoting it. So when you start that, because you think, well, if you wouldn't promote it, don't permit it. If you wouldn't put a sign in your office telling everybody to do this, you wouldn't put it, hey, everybody start showing up late. Everybody start drinking beers at noon. Like I had an agent that thought it was a good idea to drink beers at noon on a work day. Do you think I permitted that? If I permitted, I might as well start promoting it. Might as well start selling beer in the office if we're going to go that route. So that's it's a little extreme. It's a little extreme, but then I also go like this. If everybody is doing what I'm doing, what kind of organization would we have? if everybody did what I did, if everybody thought what I thought, you know, what type of team would we have? And that is really deep right there. What type of world would it be?
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
so now you got to start thinking of your actions, because if you're smoking cigarettes and you're throwing them on the ground when you're driving down the road, what kind of world would that be of every single person that drove down that road, smoked a cigarette, and threw a cigarette butt out at that spot? There'd be a pile of cigarette butts this big.
Yep. That's excellent advice. And it's going to hit home with a lot of our coaches and directors too, because, we see it. I've seen it before with teams I've been part of where I wasn't the head coach, and it's like, okay, and I've done it myself where I sat a kid on senior night because showed up late, goofed off. Parents literally wanted me gone. They did everything under their power with their board's position to remove me because I was a disciplinarian. And I'm sitting there thinking in my head, like, so you really don't care that your kid did. You permit him to act this way. That's the problem. It starts at home. And it's not 100% my job to teach him this, but clearly I'm the only one that is. So I need to do it more because he needs it. And I'm willing to do that because that's the person that I am, but I'm not permitting this for a reason. And I want you to kind of give us this picture, if you will. Now, I see you guys constantly building team chemistry inside your teams. You take your sales teams and your people to play basketball at your house. You're doing Sunday games, Sunday family dinners with everybody, right? Your family is your team, right? It's amazing. You travel together. You hit the gym together. You go to dinners. You mentioned that you give them 2 hours to get out of the office, clear their head, get mentally set where you're not overworking them. How much does that team bonding play in the role of your culture? Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, so with COVID recently, going virtual, that was a big challenge because our company, our culture thrives on that interaction between everybody. And it definitely was a challenge. And I can't even say that, we've been successful in overcoming that portion of it. The business grew, we had numbers, the success is there, but the culture of the team camaraderie and the chemistry that we were able to achieve in person versus virtual was a challenge. So, I find myself doing like virtual coffees with people, virtual lunches with people, and it's still never going to be the same, but we're trying to do virtual things to replace some of that. But for the people that are here live and in person, we're still doing all the normal things we always have done since everything's open back up. In Chicago, you can only have 6 people at a table at dinner, which was challenging for me because I like to take people at the dinner. So we would go downtown and I would have to really strategically plan out. All right, you guys are going to come on this one, then you guys are going to have to come. But normally we'd have 30 people and rent the whole restaurant out, and they won't let you do that now. So we rent out clubs, rent out restaurants. We're getting a box for the Cubs game. We have fun contests. We did a first round knockout. It was a boxing themed contest in January where people can win money and prizes. And, we gave $10,000 away for the month of January. Last month, we had a competition called March Madness where you got bracketed off and you got to go against each other. And the winner at the end of the month won $2,000. And then we raffled off $12,000. So people get excited for the culture and stuff like that on the calls and everything. We did a movie night. So I rented out the movie theater on Monday, literally this Monday, and we went to watch King Kong versus Godzilla. I won't tell you who wins, okay? But we rented out the whole movie theater and brought the team there, and they loved it. It was great. So I'm trying to just be creative as possible. Sometimes though, I'll tell my wife, I'm like, hey babe, start making some lasagna. We're having team over, and she'll make 2 big plates of lasagna and all kind of garlic bread, and anything I could do to get the team together and reward them and hang out. We'll go to the beach. Obviously, we play basketball once a week on Thursdays is our designated time. We always play basketball, but they all went golfing on me yesterday, so I only got to play 3-on-3. Only 6 of us played basketball. 10 of them went golfing, so we kind of split up everybody. But yeah, I don't know. It's just that's some of the stuff that we like to do. Tailgates. We'll go to the club. We got a lot of young people here, so we'll we'll go to the club, rent the VIP section out, get them a bunch of bottles, and let them run around, have a good time. I used to love that when I was 22, so I'm not gonna lie.
We've all been there. I think the coolest thing about that, and like what I see is like, people love it, right? It's more like a lifestyle. You guys are a big family having fun together, and you put all this risk into yourself, and you develop yourself, and you work your butt off because the rewards are fun. You're doing this together. You're achieving success as a team, right? And they get rewarded for it. And then you give them this fun, like essentially inter squad competitions. The March Madness idea is awesome. You're competing against each other. Is 1 versus 8 gonna win? Like this guy's newer going against the queen over here who's been killing it. Yes. What's he gonna do? And the queen takes it home, and it's like, sorry, good try, man. Like, you brought the game. We went to overtime. It makes it fun. It gives them. It piques their interest more and more, and it gives them something to look forward to where it's not the norm of you got to come in, you have to go to work 9 to 5, then you have to take it home with you, miss your kids' recitals, your kids' games, then you have to come in and do it all over again tomorrow. And it's just, I only see the numbers. I don't see you as a person. I only see what you do for me, and I don't care about you as a person. You care about people, and the people really drive the business. And that's where the success comes, because you put so much into the people, and the people put everything they have into that business, because there's so much than just going to work every day. That's the culture that you guys bring, and it's a family style culture. I love it, and I try my best to do it. And I think it's more so because of who we are and the way we're brought up. That's what we did as kids, right? Like, our parents did that, and we never really changed. And it's like, why the hell would we? This is awesome. We loved it then, and now we're doing it for other people. We see it works. And sometimes people look at us like we're crazy, like, man, you're spending all this money for this and this. I'm like, yeah, dude, my guys they battled. The team that won this tournament, they tied with them, and then they got cut short because of time limit. Well, I bought them 5 pizzas. Like, I want them to have a pizza party. I want them to have some fun.
Yeah.
Just be kids.
Pizza party's number one.
I mean,
pizza
why not?
Party's number one. You got to do that.
This one's kind of a big one, and I know I'm going to touch with this one with Simon once I get him on here too. Is you guys give so much back to youth sports in a big way. Simon works for the foundation. He came from Youngstown, Hart area. For everybody out there, McKees Rocks is like one of the worst places to ever live in the state of Pennsylvania. It's rough, right? And here we are, and this is where we come from it, but it made us who we are. What's, in your opinion, what's your thought process behind giving back so much to the youth sports as a coach for your kids' team? Giving back just in the communities that you guys impact. You're not in sports yourself right now, but you're giving back. Why? What's the process behind that?
First of all, just giving back in general is huge. It's been always instilled in me, and then the company that I'm with is very big on giving back as well. The founder of our company, Bernard Rappaport, he said families are the thread that holds the communities together. And I think a huge thing in the families, especially, there's so many kids that don't really have the leadership that they need. There's kids, they don't have a father, they don't have a mother. And literally, I know that the sports are like their savior. Sports keeps the kids off the streets. It keeps them engaged. Even my son ain't going to be running around in the McKees Rocks bottoms where I grew up, okay? But he can still get into trouble, okay? And the idle mind is the devil's playground. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. And I don't want my kids to be idle. I don't want any kids to be idle. We want them to be active and to be doing something positive. And if it's a positive child, youth, sports program, it don't even matter what the sport is. Soccer, basketball, football, baseball, hockey. I already know it almost gives me chills and tears to think about the lifelong, intangible, inherent impact that those sports are going to make on the kids. It's because I just know what it has done for me, and I've seen it done for so many kids growing up. We grew up, kids we grew up with didn't have dads, and I'm playing sports with these guys, and without the sports, there would be no male leadership in their life at all. And that is very scary. very scary. So, to invest, to donate time or money, I think the children are probably the best place to put any time or money, period. So anytime I get a chance to invest or donate or give back, I usually try to look for something that has to do with kids, because I know that's the future of everything.
Yep.
And I'm really big on obviously youth sports. I try and give back to that. We'll sponsor teams and all that, get the, shirts, and it's cool. But also, Children's Hospital, man. Children's Hospital it literally has saved my son's life. My son
Absolutely.
was with open heart. He had to give 3 open heart surgeries in his first 2 years. He had congenital heart disease, and I seen it firsthand. I lived in Children's Hospital for 6 months. We didn't know every day what was going to happen, and I've seen a lot of other kids, go through that. So, they did. I mean, kids, they just can't tear your heart apart. I can't even put it in the words.
They do, and and
they got a good soft spot for me, man.
It is, man, and like I know you guys are going through it. My whole family with the kidney issues. My daughter, we found out she's going to need a transplant too. So it's we've been from that close knit, hard knock community, if you will, and we've had other impacts, and we're both so positive. Being positive is a huge aspect, and I always employ a lot of people like, hey man, give back to the community any way you can. You don't have to have money to give back. Donate some time. Go help with the field. Go help with the concession stand, or go to Costco and donate a couple cases of water to help out your local community, because we need those.
It is the best. You feel so good. It is the absolute best. It's like you don't really want to do it, and then when you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, this was the best. And then a lot of times I got pulled into coaching because I literally was watching the team, and I'm like, they need help. Not many people, most parents just want to bring their kids, and they want to, it's like a babysitter. They don't want to do nothing.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. This ain't my team. I signed my kids up for flag football, and then I end up coaching the team. And I had parents come up to me and they said, Tommy, I'm so glad you jumped onto the team, because until you start coaching, we stunk. There was just, and it wasn't the coach's fault. You can't do everything on your own. You need a staff. You need help. And I saw this guy, he had no help. And there's no way you can teach 6-year-olds how to play flag football all by yourself. So I got like a lot coaching, wrestling. Guys, I never wrestled in my life. I don't know nothing. I didn't even know what a sprawl was. I didn't know nothing about wrestling at all. I just signed my son up because I thought it would be good for him.
Sure.
And then I end up sitting there every practice. I'm sitting there watching practice, because when we go home, I want to teach him the stuff that he learned in practice so we could go over it. And the coach pulled me aside, and he was like, you should just coach. You should just coach. And before you know it, after about 5 or 6 practices, he convinced me. He sold me. I'm not a hard person to sell. He sold me on, coaching. So I jumped in and I said, just so you know what you're getting. I don't know anything about wrestling. He's like, just go out there and just encourage the kids and stuff. So I ended up coaching.
That's good advice. Too. It's good advice, because a lot of times parents don't know anything about the sport, and then like for us, they just scour YouTube and they don't know what's good and what's not, and we try and guide them.
Something's better than nothing, man.
Something's better than nothing.
Help the kids, coach, help out as much as possible, and your kids will really like it too.
Yeah, you're invested in them, and just be motivational. That's really all it is. Like, I've seen you coach Tommy at flag football in my program, and you've seen me coach him in soccer, and my coaches do it, and you're like asking me questions because you're invested in them. You be invested in your kids. It's a big deal. I mean, this was absolutely insane. Like, I had no doubt this is going to be an awesome conversation. I can't wait to watch the whole thing, and I know I'm going to pick some things out and ask you additional questions and everything. But just to kind of recap and close, if you could sum up the best advice that you could give a high school player in any sport that's ready to head off to college, or even a college player that's not sure about life after the game, what would it be? What would you tell them?
Man, I mean, I was given two quotes. Coming out of college, it's time to start a career, right? So I had to make a decision on what type of career, that I wanted to have. And the first quote, was that the more that you seek security, the less of it you're going to have. So the more you seek opportunity, though, the more you're going to get that security that you originally desired. So a lot of people, they graduate and they want to just find something that's secure and safe. So they just take this safe and they never risk anything. They never go for that opportunity. And you can fail at doing something that you don't even like doing. So if there's a part, then you might as well go out there and fail at something that you love. And I would advise this to my son, is I tell my son that I want you to just do what you love to do, because if you do what you love to do, you're going to be good at it. And if you're good at something, people will pay you for it. So I don't even know what that is, but whatever it is that you love, you got to do that. I really would encourage them to try to find a way to do that. Now, you're not always going to be able to just do what you love to do and it's going to work. Like, I love photography when I graduated college, and if I jumped right into photography, I would have been broke, So I had to really be smart about what I wanted to do. But I wanted to be rich more than I wanted to be a photographer. So I had to make that decision. But so I found that the more that I went for the opportunities, anytime I seek opportunity, I always was looking for opportunities, and then the second thing you want to do is you want to look for opportunities that have no limits, that have no limits. So what I found was that if you're looking for a career opportunity, if they give you a guaranteed like income or a base, if they give you a floor, then they're going to give you a ceiling. So if you got a base income, you're also going to be capped out at some level. Now, for some people, that's okay. But for the people that are really competitive, that they never want anybody to tell them that they can't, then you're at some point, you're going to be capped off. There's going to be a glass ceiling over your head. So what I was told was that here's the quote, the more guarantees that you have on your income, the more limits you're going to have on your income. The less guarantees that you have on your income, the less limits you'll have on your income. So, guys, since I, for my whole entire life, I worked for 6 months at the mall folding clothes at Banana Republic. That's the only time ever when I was 16 years old that I got paid an hourly wage for 6 months. For the rest of my life, I've been 100% performance-based commission. Everything I've done when I was 17 years old, I opened up a valet stand on the south side, and I parked cars. And if cars didn't pull up, I didn't make any money for the night. There was no base salary to that. 100% commission all the way through. So what I found, I was just blessed to be learned this early, was that life is pretty much you're on commission anyways. But in this business, there's no guarantees on my income. But there's no limits on my income. So like when you leave college and you want to go into the career field, those are just two quotes that always just really stuck with me, because once I go into something, I give it 110%. So if you're going to pour into something, you want to make sure that you're pouring into something that's going to be able to give you something back, and you're not going to be capped off at the end of the day. And if you can find something with residual income, it is game changing, it is life changing. So, those are some things I would maybe just throw out there if somebody was looking to graduate college right now. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated college. I thought somebody was going to offer me $100,000 a year job right out of college, and I found out pretty quickly that wasn't the case.
It doesn't happen. We all learned that pretty quick, and it's awesome advice, because, like you said, there's some people that do want that stability, and that's what their mentality is, and that's what they want. And for those that just aren't quite sure, but they love to invest in themselves and they believe in themselves, don't be afraid. Don't be
You're
afraid,
young.
especially in
Listen,
today's world.
Now's
You
the
can't be
time.
afraid.
Now's the time. You're young. Now's the time. If you're going to do something, go full-fledged, go all at it, do everything you want to do. Take the risk, if you would even call it a risk. You know, I would say that there's nothing to lose and everything to gain if
Yep.
you're trying to become and reach your dreams, you know?
Absolutely.
A lot of
Same way
people
that you're
wanna
trying to
their
reach the pros.
but they don't have the financial vehicle to do so, you know?
Sure.
So, you know, definitely teaming up with the right, you know, operation, the right organization that's going to align with you, you know, and not only with who you are as a person, but, you know, can they get you where you want to be 10 years, 20 years? I don't want you to be looking for a new career every 3 years, which is the average person goes to a new job every 3 years. That would be stressful. I don't ever want to use a resume again.
Sure.
So the key is finding that one company and sticking with it forever. Be very loyal to your employers. When you get a career, when you get an opportunity, take it. And I say, you know, dress for the position that you want. A lot of people will say, when I get promoted, I'll start acting like the manager. When I get paid more, I'll start acting like when I make professional income, I'll start acting like a professional. And my dad always told me, he said, dress for the position that you want, not for the position that you have. If you want to make professional income, you start acting like a professional now, doing what a professional would do now, and then eventually you'll make professional income. But you don't say, when you pay me professional income, then I'll start acting like a professional and doing what a professional does. That's almost like hustling backwards. And I see a lot of people out there hustling backwards, even in a relationship. You know, if you're married, you don't want to say, when my wife starts acting like an amazing person, I'm going to treat her like an amazing person. You know, it's kind of almost backwards, right?
It is.
So,
It is. That's amazing advice. And you know, kind of just to kind of pair off that risk thing, you know, guys are taking risks, girls taking risks by going to college, accepting an offer. You take risks every time you step on the field. You're taking a risk every time at the batter's box, or every time you line up across a cornerback and you want to score a touchdown. That quarterback has to throw that pristine, perfect precision pass right through two defenders' arms to win the game with 3 seconds left, right? You're taking risks every day, but you bank on yourself and you don't think twice. You go do it, right? So do that in your professional career. That's some amazing advice. And we've really tackled some awesome topics with time management, coaching, and mentoring, you know, how it works from the field through college into real life. And then the same regard with building that culture. You know, you want to be there. It's like a third home, right? You want to be there and you want to show up every day and give your teammates your all. And when you build that positive, nurturing environment, amazing things will happen. You know, and I can't thank you enough for everything. And, you know, one of my biggest closing statements for this one is, you know, coaches inspire. They set us up for life. They teach us so much about life over the game itself. Apply that when you get to the next level. Tommy, if you don't mind, you know, if you're happy or willing to share, if anybody has any questions or comments, or, you know, some of our guys that are in college now are vets, if you will, and some guys going into college who might want internships or something. Can you share, you know, your number, your email, or the website for your agency, or anything under the sun? You know, we'll be happy to share this on your Facebook, because you guys have some awesome podcasts too. Go for it, man. Share whatever you want.
Great. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was obviously great catching up with you too. And for anybody that I can help or would like to contact me or the agency, I'll give you my phone number. My phone number is 412-498-2817. That's a good old Pittsburgh area code. 412-498-2817. But we also have a website. It's thevenaagency.com. That's our agency. It's thevenaagency.com. We're also on Instagram. The Real Vena Agency is on Instagram. We have Facebook. The Vena Agency is on Facebook. And then, you know, I have a personal website. It's just tommyvena.com as well. So those would be a couple places you can obviously reach out, contact us. I'm on the Instagram Facebook, so we could obviously connect on those platforms as well. My name is just Tommy Vena right on Instagram. And if you DM me or shoot me an email, it's tommyvena@thevenaagency.com. So it all flows. It's all pretty straightforward. I got a 24-hour role, so I'll get back to you. And definitely, if anybody ever contacts me, I have a 24-hour role. We get back to you within 24 hours, no matter what, even if it's on a Saturday or Sunday.
Tommy, I can't thank you enough, man. It's great catching up. Great wisdom that you shared here for these guys and these girls. And especially, I hope some of our directors and parents and players take this to heart and learn as much as they possibly can from this. Thanks, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
I appreciate it.